and welcome back to my Be Kind Fox channel and my identity series. I'm talking about multiple origins of people, having parents from different countries, but more so of the children of people with different origins. So if children grow up in countries that are not the original countries of their parents, this is something where parents should take care of and support their children. And this is very important for me, so I have already a quite long series of videos about that topic. And if you're joining me right now, I would highly appreciate if you look at all the former videos, because we are quite at the end of this. But this is not the final one. This is the video where I share 12 tips on how to support your children if they have multiple origins. Tip number 1: continue to speak your original mother tongues, your original languages or language at home. Because this is the language of your heart, and this is the language where you can build the strongest bond to your child or your children. And if you and your partner have different origins, it is absolutely acceptable for the children, or normal, that the two parents speak to them in different languages and maybe use a third language between each other. This is common in so many families. The mother speaking in one language to the child, the father speaking in another language to the child, and both parents speaking in most cases in English with each other. That is normal, and that's not overwhelming the child, it's normal. And continuing to do so, you give this security and this assurance that the origins are okay. The second tip, of course, and you will see that the structure repeats through all the 12 tips. The second tip is make sure that your child learns as quickly as possible the language of the new country, but make also sure that you learn it as quickly as possible. And then you have dedicated times at home where you study together with your child this new language, or you have dedicated spaces at home where you then talk to each other in this new language, so that it becomes with the time also an additional language within the family. And to make sure that the child again learns this new language is okay because my parents are also learning it. It is the outside language, but we can also use it inside. And this again gives reassurance. Within your family, and this is tip number 3, continue to live the traditions of your culture or your cultures, so the culture of your original country. Continue to live them because these are your heritage, the heritage of your ancestors, and they are important to you, and they have a certain meaning to you, and they transmit certain values that are inherent in your culture. So continue to live them because your child or your children will love them. And once they get back to your original country with their relatives and their friends, they will experience these traditions as something that they know already. It's nothing new, so they don't feel as outsiders that much. Because at some point, at a certain level, they will feel as outsiders. And of course, tip number 4 is the other part. Start to inform yourself about the traditions and events and whatever is done in your new country. Start to go to these events, show up, show your presence, try to inform about the history of those events or these traditions. Try to learn as much as you can and transmit it to your children in the most positive way you can. Because these values will maybe not establish your identity, but they will be or can be an establishing part of the identity of your children. So at the very end, you will have the double or triple amount of traditions, and then you will have to select which ones to really follow, which ones to mention, and which ones to ignore, or which ones you adapt. As I told in a former video, for instance, in Italy, my home country, the Christmas event where the children receive the gifts is on the 25th. But we live in an area where it happens on the 24th. So the important thing is the event itself. It's not the big question if it's on the 24th in the evening or in the 25th. What is the difference? Because if you make it happen the day where it happens for all the classmates of your child, for instance, it will not feel as much as an outsider. And this is the main thing. Try to reduce this amount of feeling an outsider as much as possible. The fifth tip is to try to maintain as far as possible and as deeply as possible the connection to your family at home or in the original countries, and to relatives and to neighbors and friends, because this is somehow part of the extended family. And all people need those roots somehow, this tribe of family or friends that are so close that they feel as family. We all need that. And going to a new country means that in the new country you normally don't have these relations. So try to maintain as far as possible these relations with the people in the original countries. Nowadays it is no problem at all to maintain this connection via the social media, but also with the new, not longer new, but with all those gadgets. You can have FaceTime conferences, you can have Zoom calls once a week, once a month, where your children can see the grandparents, can see the aunts and cousins and friends, whatever. Use all this technology also to reinforce the human relations. And you imagine it? Tip number 6 is try to establish relations within the new country. And of course they will not be on the same intensity as relations with real family members, relatives, because you will start with getting to know somebody. And until those people become friends is already a big step. But as the quicker you start with this process, building up relationships in the new country, the better it is. And to do so, as mentioned in one of my former videos, you have to go outside. So you have to find groups of people that share your interests, be it in some sports, be it in a car, be it in the library, be it in expat groups also. Try not to relate too much to people that are from the same country as you came from, because then you have this closed ghetto. If you are a religious person, just go to see the community in the next church of your religion. Somehow try to build up bonds with your new area. And first step and easiest step is go to all your direct neighbors and present yourself and invite them for a coffee or a barbecue or whatever. Make yourself present outside. Show yourself. And bring your children with you. Support them, help them in getting to know the new area, and new people. Tip number 7 is to talk to your children as much as possible about your life in your original country. Because even if they grew up with you and speaking your language, but they didn't grow up with you, or they left the country maybe at a very young age, or even they were born in the new country. So they missed the complete aspect of how was life in the original country of my father, of my mother. Talk to them about it. Tell them stories, what happened, who said what, who did what, funny stories, and possibly mostly with those people that they know, let's say with FaceTime or whatever. Tip number 8. And this, again, is just the add-on to number 7. So you want your children to have a bond to the old country through your emotional stories, but you want them to have a strong bond also to the new country. So the very first weeks and months, you might want to do the complete tourist program. So look at all the tourist attractions that are available in that area, also in the bigger area. Go to the sea, go to the lake, go to the mountains, go to the forest, go into the city, to the city center, visit all local museums, go to cafes, restaurants, shopping malls, whatever. Make sure that you and your whole family get to know the new place where you live in. Tip number 9, holidays. Make sure that every year, at least once, you go back to your original country or countries and visit it. And by it, I mean, of course, mostly the larger family, relatives and friends. Because human contact cannot be completely replaced by Zoom calls, of course. So it needs that really direct human contact on top. But again, and I mentioned this already, the problem of expats while looking at holidays, so you would need double the amount of holidays. Try to spend some holidays also in the new country, because as big or small it might be, there are some areas where other people want to go to spend their holidays. There might be beautiful landscapes. There might be places where other people want to go. And you should know these places and make sure that your child or your children know them too. Tip number 11. And now we are coming to, in my eyes, the 2 most important points. Tip number 11 is tell your child that whatever happens to him or her outside of your home, even if it's bad, even if it's sad, whatever it is, they are bullied at school, or the neighbor's children are mean to them, or they are insulted because they don't speak correctly the language, or whatever it is, about other children, about teachers, about adults on the street, whatever. You have to tell them that they have to talk to you about it. I experienced this when my daughter was small and she was living bullying, that she didn't tell me at the beginning, not because she was afraid of me, but she wanted to protect me. She said, "Mom, you have enough to do in these times. I didn't want to add this as a sad thing where you would have to take care about, because I know you would want to protect me." So to avoid some stress for me, she didn't tell me. So I realized you have to tell your children, to give them really the awareness that they have to tell you. You must be informed as a mother or a father about what happens in your child's life outside of their home. Not only the positive things, also the negative things. Because then you can help them maybe just by talking about it, but sometimes you also have to contact the teachers and inform them and develop some strategies with them. Or maybe your child needs some psychological support, or whatever it is what derives of the situation. You can't deal with it if you don't know about it. So tell your children to inform you. The last point is that you should look at all the influencers of a person's identity, in that case of your child's identity, as many pieces of a puzzle. And the more origins are met in this child, let's say 3 of them, one parent from one country, another parent from another country, and now growing up in a third country, and then maybe one religion and another religion and one political form and whatever. All these details that I mentioned in all my videos up to now, and in my next video I will make a sort of list of all of them again so you can really see them in one glimpse. All those points are influencers of the identity. And your child is the one that has to decide which ones are relevant for them and which ones aren't, which ones they like and which ones they dislike. But even dislike is something that influences then the identity again. So the more you talk about it and the more you create an awareness within all members of the family of all these influences, and on the fact that the child is the one to decide again and again what her or his identity is and what it consists in, the easier it will be for the child. And why do I say again and again? Because it's nothing that is set in stone. So if the child at let's say the age of 5 decides to want to be this and that, maybe 2 months later or 5 years later, it changes its opinion. And this is absolutely legitimate. There's no discussion about that. The only person to decide about their identity are the children themselves. This was the summary of all the videos I've done up to now. Again, if this sounds interesting to you and you missed the former videos, just go to my channel, go back to my channel and to my identity series, and you can watch them one after the other. I go much more in detail about every single topic, of course. And in my next video I will give the summary, let's say, of all the small details that might influence, just as a roundup. If you like this video, please give me a like, please subscribe to my channel, and in any case, as always, be kind.